following episode contains language and descriptions of violence and self-harm. It may not be appropriate for all listeners, but it was my life. Discretion is advised.
Welcome back to another episode of Roll Call with Chappie. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure and do me a favor and like, subscribe, and share this stuff. I got a gem for you guys today. Blake Clark owns Limitless Real Estate, self-made. I was just digging into the story a little bit, and it's going to be kind of crazy. So I don't even know how we're going to unpack this, but thank you for coming here, Blake.
I appreciate you having me, brother. Thanks, man. Seriously.
So don't want to just cut to the chase. We're going to get into all the stuff you're doing now, but we were just talking before, and I'm dying to hear more of your childhood and how you got to where you are, because anybody getting to where you are is impressive, let alone growing up how you did. So most of my guests, I kind of tell them to breeze over, but I want to take in-depth time and let me hear your whole childhood, how you grew up, where you're from, and everything.
Yeah, it was messed up.
Sorry, one last thing, dude. Introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do now, at least, too.
Yeah. So I own a real estate brokerage now, one of the top 1% agents in Arizona, do a lot of luxury sales. We'll just go all the way back, man. Grew up in Las Vegas. That's where I was born and raised. Really good childhood overall in terms of, my parents always took care of me, loved me, but we worked with
perspective right there.
Yeah, man. I mean, it wasn't perfect. And, I think they did the best they could with the tools they have, and they've always supported me and just did what they could. But just things really kind of, I'll skip over some of the small stuff. But I had a little brother that passed away when I was 7. He was 4. So he had passed away kind of in a freak accident. Really put my dad in just a bad spot. And if I had to really tell you, that was the turning point, I think, for our life.
How was stuff before then? Was it normal before then?
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, we never really had a lot of money. My dad always worked odd and end jobs. My mom stayed home. I just remember being a kid, and it was kind of weird. We lived up in the east side of Vegas. We were up on Sunrise Mountain, kind of, which was very odd. It was like a nice part of town, and we had one of the only damn trailers. I don't know how it happened.
I'm from Ahwatukee. Everybody says, you're from Ahwatukee. I went to prison. I was like, dude, I did not live in those houses.
Yeah, it was really weird. We lived in, you don't know when you're a kid. You think you're like, oh, I'm doing okay. You don't really know how bad it is. But we drive by there every once in a while. If I'm in Vegas, I'll swing by and I'm like, I can't believe I lived in that thing. 'Cause you look around, it's beautiful. I don't, like I said, I don't know how it happened, but we had this tiny little trailer in this great area.
Right there for sure.
Yeah. And so we lived there, and my dad worked, he owned a concrete business, not a big one, small. They do driveways, sidewalks, and a couple of his buddies, the kind that would come home on an evening and drink beer together and go pour some sidewalks. Yeah, and then he did DJing at night at kind of these small little dive bars out there.
Your dad was a DJ?
Yeah. So I remember being a kid, and we'd have to go to these little dive bars and help him pick up, his equipment and stuff like that. So, he was a hard-working dude. That's, one thing he taught me. And just one day coming home, freak accident happened. He was back in his truck in the yard. My brother and I were standing on the back bumper like we did every day. It was like our thing as kids. Dad would come home. It was an old 65, 66 Chevy flatbed pickup, his old concrete truck. He had all those forms and trials on there. And we jump on the back. He'd back it in the yard. And my brother's foot slipped one time and basically did a face plant right on the ball hitch, unfortunately. And he went brain dead is what it was. Passed away, unfortunately. And so my dad, it really messed him up, obviously. And, I remember, it's crazy now. I'm 40 years old, and I remember it happened yesterday because it was there,
I bet,
But I remember he just stayed in his room for 30 days after that. He'd come out and see us, but he just didn't work, didn't do anything. It just really, really, really messed him up. We ended up losing that house that we were in because he just wasn't working. And then my mom had a connection out here in Phoenix. She came out to do some work at the time.
How did she take it?
It was tough. My mom was always the stay-at-home mom and raised us, and then my dad was the worker. And then when that had happened, my dad just hit depression. Just didn't work. And I can tell you, I still remember that period of time where he just sit in his room, and it was a mess.
It's kind of crazy to me, even you're the warrior after dealing with that too. I told you, I cry all the time just hearing about something happening to my son. And not even my brother, especially when you're a kid too.
Yeah, it was tough. And so my mom, she was kind of doing a little bit of politics, helping people run for some campaign stuff, super low level, nothing high up government by any means, just, setting up some parades, stuff like that. Had a lead on somebody in Phoenix at that time that was hey, we're trying to run for senator. It was this had to have been 1996 time frame, right around there, right around the time I was about 11 years old. And, so they said, hey, we need some help setting some stuff up. So my mom's all right, it's supposed to be a short-term deal. She was going to come out, make some money just to help pay some bills while we were going through what we were going through back home. Yeah. And one day my dad just packed up, got a U-Haul, whatever we had left that was in this little rental we were staying in the short term. And we just showed up to Arizona one night and stayed in an office building. It was in downtown Phoenix over off like Bethany Home. That was like their headquarters. And they're like, after hours, you guys can just sleep here. So we had like a little air mattress. We stayed there as a family for a few weeks. My dad got a job doing.
What are you thinking then? Because you're a kid. Do you know what's going on at that time or what?
Not really. No, it's just.
Same, because I always think back, like, we were really, really broke growing up. And that, like, it wasn't, nothing crazy horrible, but like.
Yeah.
And, we just didn't know. You just knew.
That's how we were.
Stuff. You knew you had to, like, sometimes check for change to pay for food, stuff like that, but it was kind of normal,
Yeah. So I don't think I really necessarily knew. I just kind of, my parents, you're like, just go along with what your parents say. You don't really question. Yeah. And at the time, I'm like 10, and so, we ended up in Phoenix. We stayed there. My dad ended up getting a job doing dirt work for some company, and we got a rental property in Levine at that time, kind of south.
You guys ever? Sorry, I just want to key in on this more because it's like, so many people just give up on life for that. Like, do you know was there a turning point where your dad kind of snapped out of it, or was it just gradually?
No, man, I'll tell you what. My dad's a tough son of a bitch. If there's one thing I could tell you, there's a lot of things that I think they didn't get right in life, and it's not their fault. I don't blame them for it. It's just what it is, like they just didn't learn. But I will tell you the one thing that is he just didn't quit. Full backstory, my dad's dad left him. So his mom, when my grandma, I never met her, but my dad's mom, when my dad was a young kid, she had fell asleep at the wheel and her door opened on her car and she ran herself over, and my dad was in the car when that had happened. So my dad ended up in a home. And then after she had passed away, I apologize, my dad's dad just left him. And so my dad ended up in a home and like abandoned him. So I think part of that for my dad was like, I'm never going to let that happen to my kids. And so he never gave up on us, even it was a hard time.
If that didn't happen to me, he probably would have gave up on you guys though. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I just told myself to never do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like, I think really deep on stuff because I was in prison for so long and like you just, I could look at a little TV show and I'm like, and I think that all the intricacies of it, like I was talking to my buddy who's doing 240 years or so. He's one of the only guys that still take calls from, and he's like, what are you doing today? And I'm like, so I told him, hey, at 5 o'clock I woke up with my son, or 5:40 I woke up with him, then we got a bottle, then we like snuggled and watched a movie, then I got, drank some pre-work, and then I went to the gym, and I'm like, when you're in prison, like you just want to know all the details. You have nothing but time to think about that stuff too. So like I think about that, and I was like thinking right then, like your dad, I'm like, damn, he's probably in that room for a month just thinking like, I want to kill myself. I want to be done with life, but he's like, I can't do it.
I don't think he's ever
did to my son or something,
Yeah, it was an accident. I don't think he's ever forgiven himself for it. Even when I had kids, like my kids, I've got a 17 and a 16-year-old. But I remember when they were little, he had a really hard time going around them when they were that age, that 3 to 4.
Oh my God, man.
So. He got that job, and we ended up in like Levine, kind of South Phoenix, 51st Ave, and like Dobbins area. And that was an interesting experience. We didn't really understand South Phoenix at the time. We were in a rental property over there. Had a couple cars stolen in the meantime. They stole them and took them out to the res, and one of them got lit on fire. The other one got crashed. And this was all within like a 1 year period of us landing in Arizona. And we're like, what is going on? Like, this is crazy. Like just back-to-back hits.
Yeah.
And my dad one day was out doing dirt work for this company in a little small town called Maricopa. So this would have been about this time we're talking 97, 98 time frame. Nothing's out there. And my dad found a little trailer to rent out there at the time, a little single wide, and he's like, seems nice and peaceful out here, and we're gonna go. And so we went out there and we lived there. And then a year later, he ended up buying another little single wide trailer. The thing was like, I think it was a 750 square foot trailer, 2-bed, and then he added on 2 bedrooms for me and my sister, and that's where I grew up all the way out through high school.
And then you went to Maricopa High?
Maricopa High,
Okay, cool.
graduated.
How was high school for you?
It was good. I was a little bit of a troublemaker and stuff like that, just mischievous. I never got into doing drugs or anything like that, but I was got into like just doing really dumb shit, just, being mischievous, just driving. I got my first job when I was 12 out there because we didn't have any money. And I remember being a kid and, I was like, man, I really just want like a nice pair of Vans shoes. And my parents were like, we don't have the money for that. Like, if you want that, get a job. And I was like, okay. So there's a skydiving and glider place that's still out there.
I know that, yeah.
Yeah, Arizona Soaring. And I owe those people so much thank yous because they gave me a job at 12 years old. I rode my bike up there and I was like, do I have a job? I'm 12. And they're like, yeah, we can have you wash airplanes and be a line boy and stuff. And so they gave me a job. And so every day after school, I'd catch the school bus. It'd drop me off at 3. I'd go there. I'd wash airplanes at the end of the day. And then my dad would pick me up on his way home. And then in the summer, I would basically ride my bicycle there until I was 16, got a driver's license. And then in the meantime, I'd steal my dad's car in between, go out and get mischievous, stuff like that. Yeah. Got my first traffic ticket at 14.
For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, it was I'm grateful I grew up out there, because I probably would have been in a whole lot more trouble. You know, there's only 2 cops out there at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Daytime and nighttime as before I was even in a city. Right. But it was a good childhood, man. I mean, for what it was, for the tools that my parents were given, they always loved me through it, you know.
Did you graduate high school?
I did.
And then what were your plans when you got out?
I don't know. I was doing blue collar, man. So like when I turned 16, I got a job picking melons in a melon field out there, because that was all there was. And so I was kind of out there picking cantaloupes, honeydew, things like that. And then I kind of got, if you want to call it, like promoted to driving forklift. It was called Santa Rosa Cooling out there, and they paid a little bit more. And then that was seasonal. And then when we weren't in season, I was doing construction with my dad all through high school. Okay. And all I cared about was making money. That was it. Like I just knew it was such a pain point for my family, because we were always fighting over money. My parents always fought it. We never had it. We didn't have anything growing up. My dad was just working his butt off and never really could figure out how to make it. And so I just remember telling myself when I'm older, and I remember seeing friends of mine that did have nice things. I specifically remember a friend of mine that lived in South Phoenix. His parents did really well. They lived down the street. And I always remember he had really cool 4-wheelers and stuff like that. I remember being a kid, like, I wish I could just have this stuff. And so I always worked. I've been working since I was 12. I've never been unemployed, never not had a job. If anything, I've always had 2 or 3 at one time.
Yeah. All right. I love it. So then when did you start catching a break and start making some success or making some real money then?
So I got a break when I was like 22 years old. A girl that I went to high school with, I was doing construction with my dad, doing dirt work, very blue collar, like digging ditches, asphalt, making like $12 an hour, driving all over the damn place, and you know, just sucked.
Nice cool Arizona.
Oh yeah, dude. It literally, I think when she called me, it was like July or August. I still remember to this day. I was sitting on the Beeline Highway digging a trench for Cox. We had a contract for Cox Communication to put the fiber optic in, and I was sitting there, and she called me, and she's like, "Hey, you want a job?" And I kind of kept in contact with her. Like after high school, we were friends, and I was like, I don't know, doing what? And she was like, just enrolling people into college. And this was 2005. So 2 years after I was out of high school. And I was like, I don't know anything about that. I didn't even go to college. Yeah. And she's like, well, you actually get to go to school for free if you work here. And I was like, is it indoors? And she's like, yeah, it's indoors. You can they start you off at like $32,000 a year. And I'm like, okay, school for free. So I remember I talked to my dad that night about it. My dad's like, take it.
Imagine hearing that thinking that's good money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude. Crazy, huh? Yeah, it was for me at the time. Yeah. And I remember, and at the time I just had my daughter. I just had my she's now 17. But I remember talking to my dad, and my dad's like, you got to do it. Like, I don't want you on a tractor like me the rest of your life. Like, what do you got to lose? He goes, if it doesn't pan out, I'll give you a job back.
Were you scared when you had your daughter or no?
Yeah, I was terrified.
Because I'm still terrified to this day.
Yeah.
And like, I'm successful and like got everything set in stone, you know what I mean? But it's like, I can't imagine like, and I don't know how my mom did it that broke, and like other people when they're not prepared for this stuff, you know, because I thought I was prepared and I still wasn't prepared, but like we're doing it, you know, like I can't imagine having a kid that young when you're trying to just succeed yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It was terrifying. I remember when I found out I was having her, it wasn't planned. Just being so afraid of letting her down. I just remember like finding out, I'm having a kid, and like, man, like I remember thoughts of like, what if I grow up like how I grew up and have to put them through homelessness and just all that crazy stuff? And
guys not think of that.
I don't know.
I wonder that every single day, bro.
I literally have been running from that since I've had them, all 3 of them, you know? And so, so I had that, and I remember I started at that job, and I went in there, and I didn't know anything about it, but all I had to do was sit and make phone calls. And I remember thinking, I was like, this is so damn easy. Like I get a lunch break, and I'm not in the heat, and I get good money. And so they had what was called a performance metrics, where every 6 months, based on how many enrollments you had, you could get up to a 20% raise every 6 months, so up to a 40% raise year over year compounded. And I'm like, this is incredible. And this is the easiest job I've ever had. I'm sitting inside making $30K, just making phone calls. And I think that coming from where I came from, that was easy, but everybody that was there, they're already used to it. Like, they're half-assing, doing water cooler talk. And I'm just sitting there ripping calls. And within my first 6 months, they promoted me to manager there. And I did not belong being a manager at all. Horrible with people, young, arrogant, didn't know how to lead people. And they're just like, hey, you killed it, dude. What's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I think it's easy. It's the most easy job ever. And they're like, we're going to have you take over a team that's underperforming. And we want you to do what you do. Like for you, we want you to teach this whole team. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't even get my performance. Like, well, it's good news. We're actually going to bump you to 50K. That's the minimum salary. And I'm like, holy done. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing, but sign me up. I'll figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
And they threw me in that position, and I was the worst manager ever. Like,
Really?
oh yeah, dude. I fired half the people. I didn't take time to get to know them. I didn't know what their goals were. I was basically like, you're either going to make calls or you're out. You're going to make calls or you're out. So it's an underperforming team. Fired half of them like within the first week and a half. Looking back, it was really just horrible. Like, I'm like, I can't believe I did that. But it was lessons learned for sure.
Yeah.
Brought in a lot of young, hungry dudes out of the construction industry. Hey, come here. And, they killed it. We did good. And then, it was right place, right time. The economy crashed. So the construction industry took a shit, and my dad lost his job. And then I remember lost his house out there. He had called me one day and was like, hey, can you buy my house? And I still wasn't like making great money. I just found out I had my daughter, and I just got an apartment, and my girlfriend at the time, their mom wasn't working. So I was paying for her. And I told my dad, I was like, I can't afford it. Like I'm not making, $50K doesn't go far when you're paying a car payment and kids and all that. And he lost that house, the one we had out in Maricopa. And so they're up in Oregon now. But I remember like that business took off because as everybody was getting unemployed, they're like, we got to enroll in college. And so it was like, in a down economy, we actually did extremely well. Worked my way up the ladder, did that for 7 years there. Did really good, got to the number 3 performing team. And then when Obama hit the administration, they created a rule that basically said you can't pay enrollment advisors based on performance metrics anymore. So what they were basically saying in the big picture was people are unethically enrolling people into college because it's tied to their compensation is what it is. So you're just telling people whatever they want to hear, and you're using student loans to get them in. So you can't pay enrollment advisors on that anymore. You have a whole company based on salespeople. And so the company just started tanking. You had people that were making 100-something grand doing 15 sales a month that went down to 5 because they're like, wait, you can't hold us accountable. Company started falling. And then, one day I sent out an email and I was like, hey, whoever makes the most outbound calls, lunch is on me today. And HR monitored that and fired me for that. And I was the number 3 highest producing team. Yeah, they walked me out. They're like, it's considered competition. And I was like, it's on me. I just told them if they make the most outbound calls. And that was the turning point for me that got me to work for myself because
were you religious?
No, not really. No. So but I remember that being such an ego blow to me because that time, mind you, I'm 7 years in and I had a great team, and that job set me up in so many ways, not financially, but it taught me how to lead, taught me how to manage. I'm still learning that. That's a constant developing skill.
Skill is managing people.
100%. Yeah. But I remember that job taught me so much, and I've got so much to be thankful for that. And I just remember taking so much pride in that. I was like, gave 7 years, and in a time when a company was suffering, I was showing up every day, costing blood. We were still performing, and for them to fire me over that, I was like, okay, this is the corporate wheel. I get it. Like you're just kind of a number here until you're not. And I remember leaving there and saying,
your kids probably what, 3 or 4 this time?
Yeah, I had my son now. I had 2 kids at this point. Yeah. And terrified. And by that time I had met my oldest kid's mom. And so I was just like, holy crap, or my youngest kid's mom, sorry. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I remember at that time I had just launched some e-commerce products out of my office, and it wasn't doing good, but it was just getting enough traction. And then I started a welding business.
What made you do the e-commerce thing? How'd you get into that?
Just reading on forums, and you had all these guys. That's right, when e-com was taking off. It would have been 2012, 2011. That was even before the Amazon thing. It was like, oh, we're selling on some eBay stuff. And so to make ends meet, how I really got into it was I've always been a car guy. And so I was buying on the side. I've always had side hustles. I was buying these. I had a guy that worked at the Chevy dealership over in Chandler and Gilbert, and he was the body guy. And so what would happen was people would drive their Tahoes and Chevys, and they'd clip a mirror on a side road stop sign, and they'd come in for warranty work, and he'd take the mirrors off, give them to me, and I'd buy them off him for $100. And these was Chevy mirrors that had little turn signal arrows on them. And I'd take them home and I'd fix them and I'd take them apart because I was just handy. And then I'd flip them on eBay for $350. So I was making $250, and I'd do 2 or 3 of those a week. So I was helping pay my bills at the time. So I started doing that. And then I'd go buy old Chevy pickup long beds that nobody wanted, pull it to the side of my house. I'd buy these things for $500 and tell people, hey, just park these things out, come to my house. It wasn't good because I had random people show up at my house all the time pulling parts off of it. But that's how, I'd buy a truck for $5. And by the time they took the fenders, the hood, the door, we actually parted the vehicle out. I'd be, $2,500, $3,000. I'd net 2 G's. Yeah. So I was doing all these little side things and started flipping them on eBay. And that's really what got me started, was running that. Okay. And then, I did food delivery at night. In the meantime, got my CDL. Started doing food delivery.
CDL too?
Yeah.
You literally have done everything.
Yeah. So I was driving trucks. My neighbor at the time, which we were talking about mutually, he was doing food delivery. So we go to work at 10 o'clock at night and get off at 6 in the morning. And then I got a job then I was doing the eBay and online stuff. And he's like, yeah, go get a CDL and you can come work with me and drive routes. And they pay $50K. And I'm like, okay. So I did that for about a year and a half. I figured out I don't do well. Like I'm an early morning guy, not a night guy. But I did that for a while. And then, got a job doing freelance marketing for a chiropractor. Just started doing took all my e-com stuff. I was marketing products, found a small chiropractic office at the time.
How'd you learn marketing stuff? Just YouTube, Google, and stuff like that?
Yeah. Just, this is like...
I'm trying to dumb it down for people so they know.
Yeah, this is like 2012, 2013 when it was kind of like... If you were able to even make a video, take a nice picture, and at that time, people were still using Facebook, not to sell things, but they were just like, hey, this is what's going on in my family. That's before businesses had moved in. That's before even Facebook had a marketplace. And so I started just kind of doing marketing for businesses at the time, because I was kind of doing my own marketing and was, good with that kind of stuff, like selling my products. And then I found this chiropractic office that just sucked. They're old school. Guys that owned it were in their 70s. So they had zero online presence, but they're great at what they did. So they hired me. They're like, hey, build us out some Facebook pages, set us up on marketing, help us with the website. So I was like, okay. So I did that. And so I was doing that, doing the e-com, and then I got my real estate license solely with the intention of buying rental properties. I did not ever intend to be where I'm at today. I just said, I don't have a retirement. I lost my 401k. I'm making a little bit of money doing marketing, making some money over here doing e-com and flipping parts and stuff. I need to go buy a flip or something. And that's literally why I got my real estate license.
So you got your license just to try and get a place that you're going to flip and make some money on?
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Had a buddy of mine that I worked with at a past job. He's like, hey, you got your real estate license? I was like, yeah.
Because I'm not joking. You guys, for those of you guys that don't know, you come over to the East Valley, every single home that's almost for sale, I always make the joke, and this is being real too. It either has a Limitless sign, or I literally hit up Braden the other day because there's this nice home that's for sale. It's a corner lot right here, and this thing's been for sale for literally 3 months. And I always make the joke, and I'll tell Braden, I'm like, the only thing wrong with that is it doesn't have Braden and Limitless on it. That's why the thing's still for sale. But you come to the East Valley, every single thing that you guys have, you guys are just crushing it, and literally everywhere, bro.
Yeah, we run it. We could talk about that. We run a little bit unique there, but that's how I got into it. So a friend of mine was like, hey, you want to sell my house? I was like, no idea what I'm doing. And I was with this broker at the time that ran it out of his house. I didn't even know any of the other agents. I mean, it was literally legally, this is what you have to do and have a good time. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I had a friend of mine that helped me. And I remember I took that house, put it up for sale, sold it, and I marketed it, took pictures, put it on Facebook, and everybody's like, what the hell? What are you doing? And I'm like, that's how I sell products. Why don't I just do the same thing for a house?
No shit.
Yeah. And it just took off and it sold. And this was 2015, I think, end of 2015. And I sold it in 3 days. And it wasn't high. It was $280K house. But everybody was like, oh, it's crazy. Nobody's really marketed online like that with houses. I got the MLS, but nobody really did full video. And at that time we had all cell phones, so that wasn't anything. Looking back, it was crappy. But I did that, did good. And then it turned into another referral and another referral. And I was very part-time my first year, and I did, I think, 8 sales. And so I made I want to say it was 60 or 80K. Okay. And I'm like, that's crazy. I part-timed it, and I made what I made kind of doing what my full-time gig is over here. And I really enjoyed it. I had zero intention. Then second year just kind of compounded, and I was still doing my marketing and just kind of working off referrals off of that. And I want to say I did 23 my second year, and I did over 6 figures. I'm like, this is insane. And so by year 3, I was like, okay, I've got something. I'm going full-time.
But even then, why start your own thing? So many people just are good big realtors.
My brokerage?
Yeah.
I'll talk about that. Yeah. So I was still a solo agent. I had no help at this time.
Yeah.
And 2018, my third year in the business, I ended up cranking out 20 something, almost 30. I think it was 27, 28 transactions. And I was super busy. Just didn't have time for anything, juggling all my jobs and hustles and stuff like that. And I decided at that time to bring on a buyer's agent to help me. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just said, hey, I'll tell you what, if you go show some houses for me on the buy side, I'll split some deals with you. So I started with her. And as soon as I got on Facebook, I was like, oh, here's my new team member. 2 other girls.
You accidentally built Limitless?
That wasn't even that. It used to be the Clark team. I used to be with a different brokerage. And so I put a post up, said I hired somebody, and all of a sudden 2 more people reached out. Oh, I didn't know you're hiring. Can I come work with you? And I was like, I guess. And so I ended up with 4 people the first 2 weeks, unintentionally at all, just out of demand. Kind of grew that, not intentionally, all word of mouth.
And they came over. Are they looking for leads from you? Do you have to supply leads?
Marketing, not even leads. I didn't even have leads. I was just doing marketing, and I was really good at sales and closing deals. They wanted sales training, and I was really good at structure. I've always got up every day. I get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning.
I see this dude. If you guys don't know that, don't follow me. Yeah, you have a prison routine out here in the States that's sick with it, bro.
Been doing it since I was 12 because my first job, I had to be there at 5 in the morning. So I get up at 3, and it took me 45 minutes to ride my bicycle there. So I had to get up early and ride in the dark there. So I've always just done it in construction. Same thing. We get up at 4 in the morning. So I've always just been a morning person. So fast forward, we did that. We had a team of 10 people doing great. COVID hits. And the broker I was working with, not to get like political, she was just very on the liberal side of things, but I had my own office and she was like, you got to shut your office down. And I said, why? And she was like, because of COVID. And I was like, how about we just give people a choice if they don't want to work? I was like, but I have people that work for me. I've got some single moms that work for me. I need to work and pay bills. Like I don't feel comfortable telling these people they can't work. Let's just give them an option. And secondly, you don't pay for my office. I pay for my office. I pay for everything.
Not forget that part.
Correct. And so the next day she shows up, I'm there working and she brings a razor blade and scrapes her sticker off the door because you have to have a sticker because mine used to be a branch office. And she's like, yeah, sorry, can't work here. And I was like, okay, well, that's not going to work for me. And so we kept working that whole year. And in the meantime, I went and got my broker's license. And in 2021, as soon as COVID was over, I had a final conversation with her in 2020. I said, I don't really agree with the way that you're leading your company and you're entitled to run it whichever way you want. I just don't think it's right that you... Because that whole year, that was one of my best years in sales. I did like 83 transactions myself. And so you get what's called a diamond award for every $100,000 in GCI you make.
What's GCI?
Gross commissions earned.
Okay.
And so I asked her that year when she told me, hey, like this is in the beginning, this is February. She's like, you got to shut it down. I was like, I'll make sure this is one of my best years. Like it's a hard year, but I'll make sure. I said, who's done the most here ever? And she's like, me. And I was like, how much? She's like 300. And I was like, okay, I'll double it. And then that kind of like pissed her off. Sure. But I'm a competitive guy. Yeah. And it was just a weird time. And I was like, I got to make the most out of this bad situation and just get after it, you know? And so that year I hit 200 GCI by May. No, sorry, April. I take that back. April, I hit 200 GCI and she only gave me 2 awards. And after that, she gave me no more. And so I called her at the end of the year and I said, you owe me, I did 800 total that year. I said, you owe me 6 more awards.
Stop.
Yeah. And she was like, I'm not giving them to you. And I said, why? And I said, you said the most was 3. I did 8. So I did more than double what you did. I'm entitled to these awards. Sure. And she's like, well, I told you couldn't work that year and you had to shut your office and you didn't and everybody else did and they listened and you didn't. So I'm not going to reward you. I was like, but I crushed it that year. Like I worked and I earned your company money. And so that's what made the final decision for me to open my company. Following year, 2021, I put all the paperwork in, launched our own brokerage, and I had no intention of it even being a big brokerage. I said, I'm just going to get my own license, bring my team of 10 to 11 people over, and we'll just be our own little team with nobody overseeing and telling me that stuff. And then as soon as I did that, all of a sudden, we had like 20, 30 people within the first month come over. Braden was in that first group. Yeah. As soon as I announced that I just launched my own brokerage, and I said, hey, you could be a team over here. My goal with it was, like, even right now, I own it, but I'm just an agent there. I hired everybody to do everything. I just show up and do an agent, do sales training. Yeah. My vision for it was, because it's a very competitive business, is why don't we all help each other? Like, you doing well is not going to take anything out of my pocket. Me doing well is not going to take anything out of your pocket. We could all win together. And I feel like that was the thing that was missing in real estate. So I said, open it up. I said, hey, I'm just a normal agent. I'm not competing with you guys. I started this to be left alone. I would love for anybody that wants to come be a part of that, come on over. If you want to develop and start your own team, I'll help you, which is what I did with Braden. If you want to be a solo agent, I'll help you. If you want to come over and work with me, I'll help you. Like, however you want to do it, there's a room for you here to grow and develop as an individual and be yourself and run your own brand. And that blew us up. And then now we have minimum production standards. So we keep it right around like 60 to 70 people at any given time.
You got that many people?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
But if you don't produce and you don't show up and you're part-time, and it's not the place for you. We have minimum standards. Yeah.
Damn, good stuff. And then, all right, another one thing I want to ask is, cause, dude, you go on some little rants in the morning.
Yeah.
Where do you come up with that shit from? I rack my brain on every day because I'm like, I look at my dude, there's like 8 sides, and it's like, most people that do that, to be honest, I can't listen to shit. Like yours, I can listen to, and it's like, it's honestly really good. And I like, where do you come up with that stuff? And I'm always looking to try and give other people any ways to find inspiration, you know? Because if you have like a little inspiration or perspective on something, you can get through a shitty situation. You know what I'm saying?
Talking to myself most of the time, or just me mentally having a conversation with somebody I know that's going through some shit.
Do you realize how many times you like talk to yourself daily? Because I feel like it's an advantage when you realize that like you're talking to yourself all day long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that people should be is self-aware. Because I could tell you, every time I found myself in a bad spot, every time I've torn myself apart, every time I've ruined a good thing, it's because I've fucked it up myself. And so the more time I spend reflecting and trying to look at things, I always look at things from an approach now of like, if you have a problem, I look at it in my hand and I almost look like I try to turn it, like I mentally envision like, hey, what would it look like from this side? How does this person see it? And that's like my morning thing now, is if I have this problem I'm facing, or if I have, most of the time it's me mentally, like telling myself, you know, like, hey, if I'm feeling unmotivated, I'd have to I'd fire myself up in the morning. It just so happens other people like to listen to that. Or if I have a friend or a family member or somebody going through something similar personal, like I'm kind of talking to them, but I just share the message to see if it helps anybody. Some days it may help nobody. Some days my whole thing is if it's just 1 or 2 people a day can just hear that and it improves their day. Or if it
just does enough for yourself to be the dude you need to be throughout the day. You know what
I'm saying?
Dude,
I tell everybody I am who I am today of who I feel like I needed when I was a kid. That's it.
Damn.
You know? Yeah.
Go to that in a little bit more in depth, dude.
Yeah. So like I often look back when I was 12, 13, 14, all the way up to like my 20s, I always had the desire to do well. I've never not worked. Like I've always had jobs. I've always dreamed of being successful at some level. And that vision of success has changed. I can tell people the more money you make, your life doesn't get easier sometimes. You just have more problems. It comes with different it'll change you. That's it. Yeah. And you have to be aware of that, and you have to really dig through your personal childhood trauma and shit because it'll carry through with you and it'll destroy you, you know. And so, but I always look at if I was a kid, I remember being a kid not knowing anybody that was successful, and not by anybody's fault. Just my parents weren't in circles. They didn't know people that were like me, right? Yeah. Just didn't know them. Like we lived out in the middle of freaking nowhere in a trailer. Like there's not really a whole lot of opportunity to connect with somebody that's a high up. And I always remember looking, I'm like, God, if I just knew this one person. I remember studying people so much when I was in my 20s. I'd look at people that are successful. I'm like, how'd you get there? What'd you do? It wasn't even about like how much money did you make. I was always like, how did you get there? Like if you were to reverse engineer your life for me, what steps did you take that got you there? How many failures did you? I always ask myself that. And so now I always look at, like, I don't get paid anything to put stories. I don't get paid to help people. It's not like people are like, hey, I'm going to Venmo you $100 for offering some great advice. I don't. Right. I only do that because I do get a lot of people that message me and say, hey, I want to get started. I've already had 2 messages today. Like, hey, I'm thinking about getting started in real estate. Like, you inspire me. And so if I can put a message out there of like, hey, here's how I got here. It wasn't by intention, but it worked my ass off the whole time. Sure. But if I could just be that person that somebody right now, I call it the bottom, if you will, because that's where I was at, like just didn't have a lot of hope and didn't have a lot. I had the will, I just didn't have the tools, the resources, the opportunity. And I could just be that guy that's like within arm's reach where they can, I'm a DM away, like, hey, can you help me? I'll help you as much as I can. If you're willing to help yourself, I will help you. Like I help people as much as I possibly can. So I always look at it from that perspective of it's just a way of saying, hey, I wish I had somebody. Like if I picture myself being that 16, 17, 21, 22-year-old kid DMing me, hey, dude, I have the biggest desire to be successful. Can you help me? And I'm like, yeah, dude, here's how I did it. Let me offer you, like, don't do, like, just being within proximity through a DM message, you know? So that's kind of just how I try to show up every day as kind of like big brother mentor to anybody that's underneath trying to get here. Like, I'm just a normal guy. I didn't come from money. I didn't come from shit.
That's why you're so blessed. I firmly believe in karma in the world and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah.
So routine, what is your daily routine? I'm huge on routines for people. You got to have a routine, but yours melts in like a prison routine, bro.
I get up at 3:30 in the morning every day, 4 o'clock, and people say that sounds early, and it is, but it's peaceful. And so the way my world works is by 6 or 7 o'clock, my phone's blowing up. I got a lot of clients, and I've got kids I got to take to school, and I've got, duties. And so that kind of that 3:30, 4 o'clock to like 6 a.m. is me time. Like I'm not obligated to answer my phone. My kids aren't up yet. I don't even care if a client calls me at 5. I don't have to answer that and feel bad. Yeah. But it's my way of starting my day off mindset, right? Because just like everybody else, I roll out of bed and I have bad days. I go through some really hard shit that like I don't even want to roll myself out of bed. I hit straight depression a lot of times where it's like I've had to force myself. And so what I found is when you create structure, you take the emotion out of it. No matter how you feel, if you get so structured, good days, bad days, it doesn't matter. Some are always going to be easier than others. But I get up at 3:30 or 4 o'clock. I immediately go sit in the dark in my living room and I drink a thing of like pre-workout just to get my blood going real quick. So I do that from basically like 4 to 4:30, 4:45, get ready, hit the gym at 5, work out from 5 to 6, come back at 6, grab my dog, and then I go for my 2-mile walk around my neighborhood from 6 to like 6:45 roughly. Come home, get dressed, get ready, either take the kids to school or go straight to the office. I'm at the office by 7:30.
And then what time do you go to bed at night to wake up that early?
9 o'clock, 8:30 every night. Get about 6 hours of sleep a night, which some people say it's too little. Some say it's a lot. I don't know. I've always just operated off of that.
Yeah.
And then in the evenings, so I don't watch any TV.
None at all?
None at all. I don't watch TV. So
really?
I haven't watched TV since 2016.
Sports or anything? I'm not a big TV guy.
I don't watch any sports. I don't watch anything. I'm a car guy and that's it. But I don't even watch any races. So 2016 happened when Trump was getting elected at first. Not to make it political one way or the other. I remember sitting on my computer that morning. I got up at 4 a.m. I'd hop on Facebook. I was drinking my pre-workout. which is why I sit in the dark now, and I like my living room on the couch and like pitch black, and I just get my mind right for the day. But I remember hopping on Facebook that day, and it was just always political. People were turning because like, F Trump this, oh, he's great, da-da-da-da-da. People I respected, family, friends, everybody was on there just at each other's throats. And I just remember that being such a turning point because I was like, God, man, all these people I care about, why are they fighting right now? Like, don't they have other shit to worry about? Like, isn't there something good going on in their life? Because I'm focused my day on like what I'm going to go take down and attack and accomplish. And these people are first thing in the morning arguing over over a person that doesn't even know they exist. And then I remember getting to the gym and I was on the Stairmaster and they had two TVs there, CNN and Fox side by side. Again, Trump was on there at the time, but it was two completely different spins on the same subject, same morning. And I just remember like, this is crazy. Like, I feel like they're trying to turn us against each other. Like this guy is over here saying he's great. This news station saying he's a POS and it's the same thing. And I just remember saying, I'm taking 30 days off from TV, computer, nothing. Like I went through my Facebook. I remember I got home, sat back in my office before I was still working from home, went through my social media and unfollowed everybody that was negative. Just took a break. I was like, I'm going to mute you for 30 days. And if you add value,
politics shit, people that post politics shit, I'm
the first person. Let's sit down and have a conversation. I respect both sides. You know, no problem whatsoever. I think it's really dumb to draw lines down the middle and say you're this or you're that. I think that there's benefits on both sides. You know, and I think that people really have a lot more in common if they sat down and just had a conversation. But I remember that day, I was like, I'm done. No TV for 30 days. I'm going to take all the time I take watching TV and I'm going to reinvest that into my business and just generating leads. And then I remember also, like social media, if you post anything, I don't care if you're a family friend, if you're on there posting negative, tearing other people down, mute. I only want so I took my social media and I turned it into like a positive affirmations thing in the morning. Like, if I hop on here, I better only see people that are delivering a great message, something great's going on in their life, a birthday, like something that I can, when I get done watching that, I want to feel good. I don't want to feel bad. And so I filtered it, and I remember for 30 days, I was like, this is amazing. Month 2, month 3, and here we are, 2025, and I've never done it. Never.
So what do you do at like at night with the kids? You don't watch TV, or do they just put on, you just don't look at it or something like that?
No, they watch TV. I just hang out. I just I go to the sauna. I have a sauna in my house. I go do that. I hang out with my kids, talk to them, we eat dinner together. And they're teenagers, my older two, so they got their lives now. You know,
you seem like a great dad, though, too. I want to get into that, too, because I'm all big on this, but not only parents being good parents, but especially dads being dads. And like, I want to make like a movement to like make it being a good dad to be cool. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm not perfect.
Like every weekend you're taking your kids somewhere and doing shit with them. You know?
It's like, no, I'm not perfect. I like hanging out with them and stuff, and I do my best. I mean, there's definitely was years of sacrifice that I worked my butt off 7 days a week. I mean, when I say I burned my world down a couple of times, I've burned it down working a lot. And so I'd had like a business coach to level me out, dude. Like, you have to leave at this time, you know. And so. But looking back, I mean, it's just what I had to do to get to where I'm at. I couldn't have got here any other way than just simply outworking everybody. I didn't have a lot of resources. You work with what tools you have, right? I didn't have money. I didn't have any of that. So the tool I had, hey, work your butt off, be the hardest worker in the room and get yourself to where you need to get until you could afford yourself some opportunity. And that's how I did it. So I did miss out on a lot of years younger when they were younger that I look back on. I'm like, man, that sucks. But it's always like the what ifs, right? Like they wouldn't have the opportunities they have now. If I didn't do that, we wouldn't, you know, and on the opposite side, if I spent a lot, like, so you never know, man. You just do the best you can, you know. Again, I learned that from my dad. He was a hardworking dude. One of the best mental images I have of my dad when we were growing up, I remember I was like 15. We had that little trailer, and he had this old diesel. I still remember it was like a 94 GMC work truck. And 4 o'clock in the morning, I hear this thing fire up, and I wake up and I look out my bedroom window. This is on a school day if I didn't go to work. And he used to wear a cowboy hat, and he'd smoke cigarettes, and all I'd see is this cigarette cherry going back and forth, and he's loading all his tools up in his truck. And that was 4 a.m., and then he wouldn't get back till 6 or 7 o'clock at night when the sun was down. And I remember that about my dad. And a lot of people will be like, oh, he worked too much, but I'm telling you, like, the work ethic.
That's to say, what were your thoughts of him growing up? Because I
taking care of me.
With Quincy, too.
Taking care of me, man.
My dad was just a hard worker, and he'll do whatever for us.
Yeah, he's never a bum. Like, my dad went through some like really hard shit. And so like, and he just always showed up. I mean, you know, he didn't give up on us. And
where's your dad to this day?
Oregon.
How close are you guys?
We're close. Yeah, we're pretty. He's always amazed when he sees me. He's like, it's crazy what you built.
Does he come down for holidays and stuff like that? I would love to meet him.
Fly him down here and stuff like that. Yeah, awesome. Still smokes a cigarette. Like almost 80 years old. Yeah, but it's crazy. Yeah, he's just and it's interesting because he worked extremely hard and I worked hard. We just had two different outcomes. The biggest difference is he tried to do it on his own, and I spent time getting to know more successful people. So like, I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for other people. I didn't
think how blessed we are though, because back then you couldn't just reach out to successful people like that.
I'm telling you,
just DM a guy like you and to have you come on my podcast and then pick your brain and stuff.
I'm telling you, man. Like, people have no idea. Like, I often think about that. I'm like, if you can't win in society today as a whole, you just aren't working hard enough. And I know people get offended by that, but I often, like you, like when I was younger, I was like, I didn't have Facebook. I mean, how would I have ever connected to any? I didn't even know half these successful people. And you gotta be careful on the internet. A lot of them are fakers too, but yeah, like and everything you need is at your fingertips. All you got to do is implement and be consistent, and just that's a whole other topic for society as a whole. But my dad, I've just always tried to model his work ethic.
What is your relationship with your daughters? Are you guys really close?
We're close, yeah. We're good. Yeah, I mean, they were always mama's girls too, but my daughters are like really good. They're just good kids, man. They soften me a little bit, and I try to take a different approach with them and stuff. My son's very much like me, which is good.
Right,
hardworking kids.
Yeah, was good in school though and stuff.
Yeah. They they went through their phases. They were teenagers, and when their mom and I, my older two, had split. We split when they were young. We're just very different people. She's a great person. We're just different people. Parenting styles were different. I grew up very structured, very whatever. She grew up a little bit different, fun parents. So like in the early teen years, early teen years, they're like, oh man, like mom's a fun parent. I'm like, no, you got bad grades, you're grounded. Oh, you talk back, you're grounded. You guys stay in your room. Where she wasn't. And so of course, being a teenager, you always want the easy path. Like I'm gonna totally lean into the parent that I know I can get away with stuff. So I was the bad guy from like 10 to 12 years old, and then I always told them, like, just wait till they get a little bit older, they'll see. Because I remember my parents thinking the same thing. I thought my dad was the meanest, so I'd get in trouble, and he'd whoop my ass with a belt, and if I talked back to my mom, soap in the mouth, I'm like, I got the most abusive parents. This is crazy, and looking back now, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad they did that for me. I'm so glad. So glad for every
why didn't they do it some more?
Every ass whooping, I'm so thankful for, because it's just like, I needed it. And so I always believe that like time does things with kids. Like they'll get a little bit older and they look back, and you just do the best you can, man. I'm not perfect by any means. I've jacked up as a parent a few times, and just show up the best you can, love them, and create a good life for them. And, listen. The biggest thing for me right now is I slow down and listen to them.
For sure, especially with teenagers, yeah.
Yeah, just, hey, you guys can come talk to me. Let's just have a conversation.
It's crazy, because you don't know when you're a kid. Like you think that like the parents have a parenting handbook, and it's like, no, your parents, you know how to do this shit, and it's like one night, the second I had my kid, like the next morning I wake up and he's crying. I'm just like, what the hell did I get myself into? And then it's like, when they're acting crazy, you got to call your mom, and it's like, she's like, I don't know, we used to try this, and I'm like, damn, they literally didn't know, and they were just figuring it out on the fly.
Throw you on a washing machine, throw you in the back of the car, go drive around the block.
Oh, literally, they're passing it down like from what they were raised from too, without the internet nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Because like, to be honest, I was like kind of mad at my mom and dad lately, and I had my son's what got me to it, because I always thought I was raised awesome, and then like I talked to my teachers and they said the opposite, and then I was just like, I don't have any memories of my childhood really, which is like super weird to me, but so I've been trying to kind of give them a pass on it, because it's like, dude, they didn't know what the hell they were doing, and like they were just doing what my grandpa did and my other grandpa did,
doing the best they could.
Me. But it's like, my only thing, and it's like, this is just an ego thing too. But it's like, I apologize for like going to prison forever, and I was like, I'm so sorry, I was the black sheep of the family. It's like, I almost feel like I was headed there from a kid, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, so I'm trying to get over that internally myself, It's like, I haven't spoken to my dad in a long time again, and I just barely spoke to my mom again like last week. But it's like, dude, people think like life's all rainbows and sunshine, and it is not.
Dude,
that.
it's hard,
you
man.
Still go through stuff on a daily basis.
Yeah, I carried a lot of that stuff from when I was a kid. You know what I mean? You just fear abandonment, just stuff that happens. You know what I mean? So you fear that. You fear like lack of money, which causes you to work a lot. You know what I mean? It's just like there's almost no off switch.
Do you feel like you work so hard and want so much money because you had so little money growing up? Because that's the exact same thing with me. Like,
I'm terrified of being homeless again. Like terrified. Like the reality of that happening is like something's always possible, right?
Yeah.
But I wake up every day like I'm unemployed, and like people tell, and it's a gift and it's a curse. I love working. I like it, dude. It's purposeful. Like people always talk about like retirement, and I'm like, that sounds horrible. It's just not me. And and that's another thing I've had to come to terms with, is just some people's goals are just different. Like I never understood that. I see people who just don't want to work that. I'm like, what are you talking about? You have such an opportunity. Like, go. People have so much talent. And I struggle. I still to this day struggle with it. And I have to often remind myself, I'm like, your dream's not everybody's dream. Like, it's okay. Like, all you can do is just, it goes back to the morning walks I put out in the content. I'm like, all I could do is put it out, and whoever takes from it, they take from it. Don't force it. And so But like for me, I just feel like that's going to be my life. I love it. It's purposeful. It's driven. I do want to get to a place where I don't have to. It's always an option at that point.
For sure, yeah.
But I believe in just building and creating, and I found a lot of love for it and joy. So it's interesting. I oftentimes, like, I've met with my therapist. I got a therapist, and I'm like, let's dig deep. Like, why do you fear? And it just always comes back to, like, I remember being a kid and we didn't have this and did it. And
name brand stuff for me.
And she's like, you're still thinking. I'm like, yeah, I'm still like, I'm terrified of that. And you subliminally, you don't realize this stuff until you dig in. And I was always that guy that's like, F therapy, F this. And what's crazy is you have to evolve, because like who I was, I always say it's like I needed to be who I was to get to where I was. You know what I mean? If I was a little too soft, I wasn't here. Like I had to really pit bull my way through hard. Like I had to really earn my way. I had to prove myself. It's just how it goes. Like it's hard to get to the top if you don't have extreme confidence in yourself and you don't just throw yourself through a block wall when people try to slow you down, but then you get to the top and you can't be that same person. When I say top, I'm not near there. I just mean like as you get to different levels, you have to reinvent yourself. And so for me, it's like, okay, I gotta be a little bit softer. Okay. I gotta like understand like what it's like to be back at day one. I'm up here and my kids, like there's just so many, because if you don't, you'll destroy the same personality traits that built you. They will destroy you if you don't pay attention to that. Yeah.
Well, a couple more things here. What do you do? Like, what's a trick that you do? Because you seem so just like level-headed and like not thrown off kilter. Like, besides your daily routine stuff, is there anything else that you do? Like, what if a bad thing is thrown at you? Like, how do you handle situations like that? Like I try to pause, take car rides or something like that. You just seem really even.
Take a walk.
Yeah, for sure.
Hard stuff happens all the time, and it's just. If there's one thing that's taught me this year, it's patience. I've had a lot of stuff happen that's just like is out of my control. It's just like sit with it. Like that's it. It'll like I'm very much like my personality type is very much logical. Like I tend to try to not, especially in the business perspective, you can't let emotion take over on a lot of stuff because you're dealing with so many different people, so many different emotions. Really, you just got to sit back and look at the data and the facts, and you're like, this is what it is, and what's the best outcome. But a lot of people are not that way. They're more. And so for me, I'm a very logical, which by logic, I like to fix things very fast. Like, hey, this is really dumb. Let's move on. Sometimes with certain people that can cause them to feel dismissed and don't care about it, And so like for me, I often sit back. I give it time to think. I don't react right away now, but I take things for what they are. And I also look at every problem now as I've had to really dig deep and say, what options do I have? So if I'm ever facing like something super challenging, I almost pull myself out of it and I say, okay, let's just list out the options I have. Because you'll get anxiety if you're like, shit, this really bad thing's going to happen to me. And you're always going to assume the worst, which makes total sense. But I often get my notepad out and I'm like, okay, let's think about what options do I have right now? I have the A, B, C. But by the time you really sit with it, some options make zero sense, but it's an option. Some options you're like, okay, by the time I've named out 6, this is like the best choice I have to make. Anxiety comes down a little bit because typically where people get really high anxiety is if they feel like they have no choices. But when you give yourself a choice, you're like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, I feel like I'm in a little bit of control now. In a situation that's uncontrollable, you do have a controlled choice in that. And that typically helps me out. And that's a developed skill. It's hard to,
Hopefully people try and implement that. Another thing, goal setting. What do you do with goals and what are your goals for the next 5 to 10 years? And how were you growing up with the company? Did you have like yearly goals and shit like that? Or like
I don't know. I'm a little bit different, so I don't really.
I just wing it.
It's kind of. I'm the same way. Like I literally operate from like a day by day. I've got my daily goals and what I want to accomplish that day. I probably have the yearly is about the most, where it's like, hey, I got to beat what I beat last year. That sometimes changes. Like it could be financial. Last year for me was a big personal goal. It's like, hey, I got to really pull myself back out of work and focus on this, and that helped out a lot. I'm not really the guy, this is just me, but I'm not the guy that's like, 10 years out, I'm going to be here. Because if you would ask me 10 years ago, this wasn't even in the picture. So I'm like, that seems dumb to me to make a 10-year plan. Yeah. I've got some personal things here and there, but I'm off. Honestly, I'm a day-to-day, month-to-month, a year at the most. Like, hey, by the end of this year.
It's so real, too, because a lot of people are like, they need these, whatever those boards where they put like the cars they want and all that shit, and they do that every year, and it's like. And then
I don't do that. The vision board? No.
Vision board, and then you're in Old Town on the weekends. You know what I'm saying? It's like those two don't
go
hand in hand.
Yeah, I'm boring. I go home. I don't go out to bars. I get home every day by 4. I hang out weekends. I don't really go out.
I love it. I look up to it. It's awesome, bro. Seriously, like you see my network, bro, and you're one of the top guys I want to get on. You're like, I've been dying to meet you and like pick your brain a little bit too. I've heard a lot of good things about you. We'll get out of here with this last bit of. I'd like to give all the inmates. This is broadcast on every prison tablet across the country. So like 30, 60 seconds, inmates, little piece of advice, wisdom, anything you could drop a little gem to them or something like that.
Yeah, man, you're just not what you tell yourself. That's it. Like, I think that I've gotten in trouble myself, legal trouble and stuff quite a bit, just being some of it intentional. I don't want to say intentional. Some of it I knew better. And I did it anyways, just because the desire to push myself up, and then other stuff, unintentional mistakes you make along the way. You're going to take licks. I mean, just is what it is. Anytime you try to go from like down here to up here and you don't have a roadmap on how to get in between, you're going to fuck up from time to time. But what I can tell you is that the world is really good at trying to tear people down. And I never understood that. But there are, as long as you can shut out, there are a good 10% of people that understand and like believe, because I've had a lot of people that really like breathed life into me of like, dude, you're a good dude. Like, so you're not really necessarily defined by your past. Like, I've made my mistakes, and ultimately what matters is just learn from that, right? Like, you're either going to look at yourself as, hey, I'm a complete screw up, or you're going to say, hey, I made a mistake, but this is the thing I learned from it, and this is exactly how I'm going to leverage this now to make myself a better person. And so, like, for me, that's what I've always looked at. I was like, hey, I made mistakes. I own it. Like, I jacked up. Like, personal accountability is the best thing you could do for yourself. 100%. Don't blame other people. Like, just say, hey, I made this choice. I effed up. These are the consequences I have to freaking pay for my shitty choice. Yeah. But I will never make that bad choice again. And here's now how I'm going to leverage this. And if anything, you're more experienced than anybody else. I always look at like the soft people that just had it super easy and worked their way up. I'm like, dude, mentally, I'm probably 100 times stronger than you. I could probably take more than you because I've been through more. And so that's actually a superpower. And so if you look at it that way, that's the way that I tend to look at it. And it goes right back to your, like, you face something hard, you're like, I've been through some shit way hard. Trust me, like going to prison and stuff for some people. You have a mild day. Like a mild day for you is going to be basically like a cakewalk compared to like having to deal with that, which is going to give you a competitive advantage because most people have never had to face anything like that. And so, I don't know, to me, I just think it's really cool to turn stuff around, you know, and it's hard. I get it. You have a lot of negative self-talk, you know, oftentimes you wake up, you're like, I don't even deserve to be here. I'm such an F up. And you have to catch that. And you have to like stop, evaluate yourself and say, what value can I bring?
I did it this morning in the sauna. I was in the sauna. I was like getting like negative for someone. He's like, I did not have a good night last night. Like podcast days, like kind of like to have everything set in stone because you have to do a lot of thinking and, you know, preparation and stuff like that. And like, just had a shitty morning with my kids, and it was just like a really hectic morning. I was just like, and I was gonna not go to the gym till later, do some gym content here. Yeah. And I told him, I was like, I gotta go to the gym, just like kind of reset for a little bit. And I literally went in the sauna and just put on a set of my wraps up positive affirmations, just listen to stuff like that. So there's tricks that anybody can do, you know.
Absolutely.
And I'm still experimenting, trying to figure out stuff because this whole parenting thing's new to me. You know, stuff gets me psychotically mad sometimes. You know, I got to figure out how to handle it so I don't lose my temper like my dad used to with me.
Dude, just enjoy the ride, bro. That's all I could tell you. Like, I remember I missed my days when my kids were, everybody just told me, oh, let's go by so fast. I'm like, oh, it's all right. I'll get there. And dude, looking back, I see people with like 2 and 3 year olds. I'm like, God, I remember my kids were that small now.
Oh, my dude, Quincy's.
I'll tell you this, when it comes to parenting, if there's one thing I could tell you, there's so many good things that comes from every phase. And it's interesting because when they're young and they're not walking, like, oh, I just can't wait till they walk. Yeah. And then they walk and you're like, oh, I just can't wait till they can get their own food in the morning. And then they do it. But then oftentimes you look back, you're like, I kind of miss the times they weren't walking. I remember they were that small, you know? And so like, but every single phase has brought such a cool experience. So I just say, soak it in. Like, just it's not going to last forever. Yeah. I remember my kids were calling. I'm like, I wish they could walk. I got to get up every night. And I'm like, this is not going to be forever. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? And I could tell you somebody now has got 11, 16, and 17. I wish they were small again. I wish I could buy that time back.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Cool. Dude, thank you again for being here.
Yeah, appreciate
you guys make sure and go follow Blake Clark, Limitless Real Estate. I'll put all his stuff in the bio here. Go buy my book, Against All Odds. Make sure and subscribe, download, share it all. Thank you guys for being here. And Blake, you're a stud, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks, guys.